Good morning, everybody. We've made it to the end of the week, so I think we should give ourselves all a big round of applause. Well done. Okay, good. I've very much enjoyed the week. I've very much enjoyed meeting old friends, lots of new people, lots of new faces. I think there's been some really great and very interesting discussions that have gone on all week. This is just a starting point. We will hopefully be able to, over the next few weeks, months, and so on, pull together all of this information and put together something that will make Europlanet solid, so that this wonderful community that we have, all of these wonderful people, these connections that we have, will be sustainable going forward. We do have a feedback form, so if I can just ask you to share that. Can somebody just check the QR code, because I just did that, but there's a Google form. I mean, those of you that are familiar with EPSC, it's essentially the same sort of thing. What did you like about ERIM? What didn't you like? What would you change? It works. Excellent. That's good news. What could we do differently if we did something like this again? So it's all fairly basic. We welcome your constructive feedback. Don't be shy. You know, we love to hear positive things. We're also really interested to hear negative things or things that you feel we could do differently. So please do take that. We'll obviously put that on Hoover and make sure that that's obvious, and on the website. It is there at the moment, but it's a little bit hidden. But so we will highlight that. So our main task this week has been road mapping. And on Monday morning, which seems a really long time ago, we formed groups and started on an exercise for topical teams. So I'm going to ask the rapporteurs to come and say a few words about where they've got to with that. Again, understanding that this is a starting point, it's not a finishing point, and many ideas will be sort of at a fairly preliminary stage. We're going to run through each of them now and then do questions afterwards, because I think otherwise we're just going to ludicrously run over time, and we have council meetings and things to go on afterwards. Before I do that, I have something for Thomas and Michael, who was there and he's vanished. Callum, sorry, can I just ask you to take those down to the back, because the streaming for hybrid meetings is unbelievably important. Making sure that people that are joining remotely feel that they're part of the room, and also for us as well in terms of you know, having a great record of what's gone on and how it's worked. So I'm so grateful for Aleph. It was all quite last minute, but you've come in and you've been absolutely spectacular all week. We're unbelievably grateful to you. So you've been so nice and so competent and so useful. So thank you ever so much. Right, okay, so on to the road mapping. My first challenge, or the first challenge, not my first challenge, our first challenge, is individual membership. So Livia, come here. So we have Google Docs for many of these.
It seems it was a long week for me as well. Okay, so I was asked to address challenge number 1, benefits for personal membership. And unluckily, I was left alone with Federica on that challenge, which was a very general topic, I understand. So people preferred to address more specific, more scientific, more technical challenges, and that's great, I mean. But how can I address this alone? This was my question at the beginning of the week. And I took advantage of my journalistic background. So I decided to go one by one to as many people as I could during the week, asking questions and asking, what would you say if you were to address this topic? So I have collected a number of ideas, a number of suggestions, is everything working? a number of ideas, and I tried to summarize all of them. Sorry if I couldn't speak to all of you, but I think it was very, very useful. So I have a lot of questions, you will see, and a lot of question marks on my presentation, and not so many answers. I'm sorry, but this is a starting point. So first thing, what are the most important things to consider? There were three answers to this question, or at least the three main topics to this question. The first one is to belong to a community. This is one of the first things that people consider valuable when becoming a personal member. But again, this is a bit tricky, because being a community doesn't mean the same thing to early careers and to non-early careers, let's put it that way. Because when you ask this question to an early career, he would like a large community, non-thematic community, because an early career doesn't know where he will be heading in the future. But it's very important to have a large community where he feels at ease, where an early career can grow up without being judged, without being, I mean, he needs to be free in this community. While mid-career, let's call ourselves this way, would prefer more thematic communities. So they would prefer to get in Europlanet and already find a community that's focused on atmospheres or whatever, but thematic communities. The second answer is capacity building. I want to become part of Europlanet to improve in many different ways my working life. So we need to figure out what does this mean for each of us and how we can do it with a membership. And then third, I mean, this is very important to all of us, value for my money. So this is where EPSC discount comes in, but it's not the only topic. It's not the only topic. What do I get back with my money, with my membership fee? So let's try to go through the answers, the practical actions that I collected talking to all of you. I tried to put down a number, trying to understand which actions is related to which answer, but I mean, this is not so useful, so I think I will just erase it. First of all, members should have easily access to communication tools. We have the new Discord tool, we have the mailing list, which are top-down. Discord is more for general conversation. Discord is very liked in the community. Everybody's saying that it's the right tool to have, but we would need to have very easy access to these tools. So this is one of the, I think we already have a solution on this, but this is one of the first requests. Members should have, this is a second idea, a personal page in the website, a bit like IAU. So a page where you have the description of your CV, your contacts, your country, your committees, your personal interest. Maybe also you want to put something yourself. I mean, a page that you can edit yourself, that you can update, and the access. I mean, only members should have these pages, and the access should be limited to members. This is a way of networking, of having people able to contact one another. I think many of these things will be repeated by other people because I just catch them up from other challenges. So I'm sorry if I'm spoiling some of your answers, but let's make sure that all this is in the roadmap. We should organize periodic online relaxed meetings for members just to meet and chat. I mean, this is very easy to do, and it can be done on a periodic basis, and it would be very much appreciated by EPEC people just to have a place to be there and know each other. We should continue having training seminars as we did up to now for capacity building, organized by Europlanet, but only for members. This is a very big difference from what it was in the past. We should have people subscribing, have the feeling that they have an advantage in respect to the others. So I think this is a very good indication. We should distribute, and this is not easy, I understand this, but it's related to regional hubs as well. We should distribute to members only national and European information about working opportunities, calls, I mean, all the things that can be useful, but not only on an international level, not only European level, also national level. How can this be done? I mean, it's not easy, but maybe this is one of the points where the regional hubs could come in, becoming a tool of communication, of distributing communication. Let me go down, sorry. Of course, this is related to other tasks, but we should, the people I talked to say that we should give members a privileged access to all Europlanet service that will be carried on. So telescopes, services, fields, data. Of course, I'm aware that we are not sure that this will be related to a personal membership. Maybe we will find out that this should be related to a society membership, to an institutional membership, access to transnational access. I don't know. This is a too big question to be addressed at this stage, but we should understand if there is a way to give to members, to singular members, a privilege on that. Maybe easier access, a discount rate, I don't know. Then other practical thing, we could provide Europlanet a license, a global license for useful software to be used in members' working life. Someone talked to me about Overleaf, a software that is used for LaTeX. This is something we usually use with open source or a free license. Why don't we buy a global license like Europlanet and have members use those useful, maybe it's not just Overleaf, there will be other softwares for graphical, for graphics, or I don't know. But this is a way of having, with a very cheap approach, something that can be used by members. Then there is a main topic. I mean, I wasn't aware of this, but in many countries, if you do a personal membership, you can't be refunded, you can't be reimbursed by your institution. This is not true in all countries, changes country by country, changes institution by institution. Maybe we should address this. Maybe there is something we can do as Europlanet to solve this. Maybe it's just writing a document telling the institution that subscribing, becoming member of Europlanet, you get a discount. So there is, I mean, the institution is not losing money with that membership. It's just like a discount for EPSC. Maybe we just can collect laws, understand how laws work in all countries, and understand if there is a way to convince institutions to reimburse people. I don't know. But maybe there was another idea circulating. Maybe we could, and I don't know if it's possible, we could include the personal membership in EPSC fees. I mean, having the institutions not see the membership. Maybe this is possible. I don't know. Okay.
Sorry. I'm just.
Sorry. I just finished. I mean, yeah. I have a couple. Other societies guarantees access to facilities, physical facilities, libraries, places to organize meetings. Of course, they have an headquarters. We don't, but maybe we can have. I mean, we can find a list of discounted locations. The persons I talked to asked to have partnerships, to have discounts on book, on online seminars, on professional trainings, so we can couple with other institutions. And of course, the last thing, maybe it's the most important, make a partnership with other societies to make a bulk registration with discounted prices for membership at national and international level. So I'm stopping here because
sorry. Can you just briefly say the next bit about who the task force, because this is important.
Yes, I can't see it anymore. So I feel, but this is my personal feeling. I didn't ask this question to the person I interviewed. That decisions, of course, need to be made at executive board level, but we need to have some very technical discussion on all these points to help collect information and contact external entities. So I really feel that we should have technical advice, of course, from ESF, from communication people, from EPEC, from at national level, and from administrative people coming from different institutions all over Europe. So I think we should make a task force.
Yes, exactly. So can we follow up on that? Who is, because what we don't want today is just a whole thing of it's down to the executive board and the ESF to do it, because that's what we've been doing for the last however many years, and it doesn't work. So to take on these challenges, who is going to be willing to take on this challenge? Are there people in the room? Are there people watching online that are willing to sign up to the task group for this personal membership? And I'm looking for hands. Susanna, excellent. Didier, excellent. But you're bored as well, so you should be doing it anyway. So we need additional people. Anybody else that would be willing to work on this task force group?
I mean, this is very crucial because it's related to all other challenges, and I think it's very important to have a solution here.
Akos, excellent, and Carlos, are you excellent?
Yeah.
Oh, was that a question?
The services level, this is the critical point.
Yeah.
And that,
so
that is the point that I think I can.
Super.
I'm sure that we need to treat them
In
parallel.
Sorry, can somebody make sure that they're taking notes of that? So we have. Yes. Okay. So we have volunteers. We have Susanna, Akos, Carlos. Could we have somebody from EPEC? Could we have an early careers who would be willing to volunteer for this?
We can roll. I'll talk about it in our next.
Okay. Okay.
That in the next presentation.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Right, James, you are on.
So on that first one, just real quick, and I know I've only got 5 minutes, but on that first one of the membership benefits, it does roll into a lot of the stuff we've discussed anyway. So I think things that help benefit membership will come from our side when we have people doing our challenge. I'd just like to really quickly say it's been a fantastic week, and we've had some really great participants. Well, everyone who's participated in EPEC Annual Week's been awesome. It's been great to meet new people from all over the place, and people who maybe didn't expect to be questioned so much about what they wanted from a community and have to problem solve as much as they have, but they've stepped into it and done a really, really good job. So thanks to everyone who came to EPEC Annual Week. It's been really good. So far, we have a mental health speaker at 11 o'clock. Anyone else is welcome to join us as well in KM1, just as a heads up.
And it will be recorded so people can watch it.
Yeah, it'll be recorded. Anyway, so that kind of sense of community that we've felt this week, all of us I think have felt this week, is something that we want to underscore EPEC going forward. So the big word is community. So on the slides that you can't quite see right now, community is in big and bold. It's stuff that we think we can all, there's loads of stuff we can help each other with peer to peer. And so community is something that will underscore everything. One of the enablers for this is the digital infrastructure that we require. So we've got a list here that we've given to the ESF, and we'll be talking to you going forward when we do the road mapping. But there's quite a few things we need, but it's nothing substantial, and it's something that just enables us all to talk to one another in a little bit more of a structured way. And we've got lots of ideas in which we can do that. The casual chats that came up earlier is something, we definitely asked for. It's something, again, easy to implement, and something I definitely like to keep talking to the people I've met this week, and hopefully they'd like to do the same. So something like this. Something else that underscored this week was not just kind of blindly filling all the vacant positions we have in our working groups, because the same systemic problems will continue because they're systemic. So asking the community what they want, which we really tried to do this week with EPEC, understand what positions should actually exist and create them or fill those. And that, I think, is something that probably will help us going forward, because the working groups that then aren't needed won't try to keep going and take energy and resources. In terms of the support people want, webinars is something that obviously people are always interested in, but for example, if we have a backlog of recorded ones, then this is a great membership benefit. So this is one of the ways of the many ways we will cross over with you when we go forward after this week. Peer-to-peer advice. So for example, if we have these casual catch-ups, like presentation practice, if I'm giving a presentation at a seminar and I wanted to run it past some friends on every 4 p.m. on a Thursday we meet or something, I'll just go there with my presentation and ask people to quickly look at my slides. In terms of more structured advice, like mentorship, so for example, Nigel gave an excellent proposal writing workshop, which I'd recommend some people to watch the recording of. It was really, really good. So that more structured membership is also something people wanted and not something so difficult for us to implement because the structure is already there in Europlanet. The working groups, again, like I said, maybe trying to de-scope those slightly and just making sure they're doing what people actually want, and we've got people to fill the positions. This is not so difficult because we've got people who want to do stuff. We just need to make positions for them. This is not difficult. We decided in a hub session yesterday, I think this was productive, how EPEC and the hubs can start to work together. So we decided what we want the EPEC officer to actually do in the hubs. So when, I won't go into great detail, but for example, when a hub is putting on a local event and they want EPEC people from within that hub, the EPEC coordinator within that hub will be responsible for this. One quick example. But we have a list of things we wanted from the hubs as well as a local anchor for advice, something that showcases industry events and academic events, a place to talk to if I'm moving to a new country or considering a new job. I want to know if the lab is any good. They're the kind of place I might find more localized advice and things like this. So this is just my very quick 5-minute run through. There were quite a lot of ideas that came out of our discussions this week, and it's been really, really good fun. So thanks, everyone. And mental health speaker in KM1 at 11 o'clock if you want to come. It's open to everyone. Thank you.
And thank you again, James, for really all of the work that you've put in for organising EPEC Annual Week. It's been a huge task, and we really appreciate it. It seems to have come together really well. And thank you all early career people for coming along. Now, task 3 was capacity building. I think Fulvio spoke about that on Tuesday, and he's not here. Has anybody else been involved in that capacity building task that would be willing to say a few words about it? Okay, well, we will have to wait and see if Fulvio comes a bit later, and if so, we will pick up then. So next will be industry. Let me just get the industry presentation slide up. Okay, there we go.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to notes. Okay. Morning, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thanks to everyone who's contributed towards industry policy engagement discussions throughout this week. And I'm here speaking on behalf of Geronimo and Marcel from the industry team. So I hope I can communicate the points as well as they can. So our initial assumption when we started these industry and policy and industry academia engagement activities were that it would be difficult to bring industry to work with Europlanet. It would be difficult to get them to, maybe pay attention to what we're doing. But from experience, it's been the other way. Industry has been quite active, and they've been engaging with the activities that we put up, and they've responded to invitations we've sent for activities and events. And we've seen good participation, but from the academic side, we've seen very limited interest. And that's something we should try and address. And one recommendation, on maybe I should recommend as well, is that helping early career scientists getting involved in industry seems to be the best way moving forward to address this issue as a whole. So I kind of have a few summaries for the priorities, recommendations, and task force, which I'll run through. And I will publish them on Huba as well, so you can see them later, and we can discuss that. So in terms of priorities, the first one we figured out would be to get the scientific community interested in working with industry. And the second one would be to define what Europlanet can offer to industry as a package, as a proposal, and I'll come to that as well. And put together resources to find, pull together resources and find a unified voice when it comes to lobbying with policymakers across local, regional, national, and international levels. And this was something that Noel Baker during the policy session highlighted very well, and how to have a unified and a more powerful approach rather than trying to do something short and simple that would probably not be as effective. And yeah, so some of the recommendations to address these concerns would be to run regional workshops that could communicate and demonstrate the benefits of working with industry. And if there are any concerns about working with industry, understand what they are and try and address them in whatever way possible. And obviously the package to put together what Europlanet can offer, and working with other bodies such as the EGU, who could help build a big space lobby group that could help get more funding for space science rather than Europlanet trying to do it all on our own. And finally, setting up a platform where early career scientists could find roles in industry, and industry can use that platform to advertise roles, and that could be an additional source of income as well for Europlanet. In terms of the task force, the industry and policy teams would definitely be involved in this activity, but we would need the help of EPEC, the other committees, and the executive board. But I think the most important support we would need is from the community to say why working with industry is a concern, or why there isn't as much as interest as we thought there would be, and try and address those as soon as possible. Thank you.
And again, just in terms of who's going to take this forward. Now, I'm assuming that Geronimo and Yoga and Marcel are going to be doing this. But I mean, one of the really important points that you've just made is that we need the academic buy-in. So, are there others within this room, within the people online, that can put their hands up and say, yes, I will work with the industry team to make sure that that academic interest is there, and we have that support in building that into the planning for this? I'm looking again for hands. We're going to leave the awkward silence until somebody feels so guilty that they're going to put up their hand. Other than board members, yes. I mean, the board members, we are assuming already have a remit to do this. So, Akosh. Yes, exactly. And to be honest, I think you are really important. You've been involved in this anyway, which is good and very much appreciated. But B, you know, I think you have very rightly put yourself forward to talk about individual membership, because I think there's a lot that needs to go in there. So I am looking for more hands. Appreciated as a consultation, but I'm looking for more hands. Somebody else who would be willing to even if
not, I will be very interested to know why you are even if you are not interested. I mean, we'd like to know why. Actually, is it you know how to work with industry, you really don't see the benefit, right? Just having all that feedback will already be very helpful actually for us to try to address it actually. So.
Speaking for myself, I'm not sure how can I help, or can be of my mind or my point would be in benefit for this group.
Sorry if I can answer that. I mean, we can do this more detailed during discussions, I assume, but you know, for example, in setting up the early career portal where to help find internships and so on, that could be something to get advice on what you're looking for from features wise, and what you would, what kind of resources you would like, and support from Europlanet and from industry to help you do that. So just contribution as well could be great, just ideas, feedback or criticism rather to what's been happening as well.
Also, can I see also I'm sorry, I invite you to see it the other way around. I mean, for a scientist, it is very interesting to know what the industry thinks, because you get more information, more know-how in a world where you can have your career, your collaborations. So I think would be very interesting for scientists, for researchers to volunteer on. So please see it the other way around as well.
Exactly, you should ask yourself what we can do for you, right? And I mean, we've been trying to pass this message, but of course, we are passing this message to industry because we get little academics in the session. So,
if I were a researcher, this would be the challenge I would like to address. So I really don't see why people don't volunteer.
But having said that, we do see, okay, it's part of this question maybe, but quickly just to say that we do see a perceived openness and interest actually from the time that we started in Europlanet in this research infrastructure to now. Before, you know, now we have seen some success cases actually, like MOV, Explore. We see actually people are more willing to interact, so I think that's actually quite positive. The only thing we would like to improve is indeed that to try to get more scientists interested in working with industry to try to enhance that. But it's going in a right direction in a way.
Yeah, can I just, yes, I mean, I think the fact that people aren't volunteering goes back to that first point that Yoga meant. We still got to get the academics to see this. There's a lot of push in a lot of countries to do it, but it still seems to be very difficult. But Luca, I think, I don't know if you could volunteer, because I think you with your own company, you were in this, but you were very useful in those sort of discussions as somebody who straddles the boundary.
The reason why I didn't reply is because I didn't feel the question was for me, in the sense that I'm not academic. I'm already a company, so I'm already on the other side, if you want. So as a member of the other side, yes, I can contribute. But as a member of the academic world, then the question is not for me, it's for all the scientists in this room to decide, maybe like me, to, you know, be a bit in the middle and try to help industry, try to connect with industry. Or, I mean, as I said maybe earlier, industry is not always hardware, it can be services. So maybe as a scientist, you need services, you don't know. So maybe this is where you could put your hands forward. I didn't put my hand forward because I thought it was already on.
Right. So I am very happy to contribute with answers from my point of view. Again, we are in the services, not only here on this challenge, but as that's what we do every day. So how to keep the services running, and we handle software at scale. Data science is our stuff. So it's of our very interest to have this working. We are right in the middle, effectively. And I didn't put my hands up because I'm committing already to some stuff, and so there is a limit. But I'm very happy, feel very welcome actually, to ask me stuff, and I will be glad to answer. But I will not commit in going to meetings and having an active role here. Sorry.
I think that's fair enough, and that, you know, the whole point should be that it shouldn't just be a couple of people that do everything. I mean, this is the problem that we consistently have across the board. I'm going to ask one more time, and then we're going to follow up in the coffee break, and we're going to go around and hunt people, pincer movements, to try to encourage people. So, is there anybody that maybe would be interested in just kind of exploring the ways in which, as Geronimo, as others have said, you know, there's a very diverse ways, there's very diverse industries out there, from instrumentation to software to services to hardware. There must be ways in which you use that in your daily life. If you would be interested in exploring how that can be brought out to the community a bit more, then please, I do encourage you to put up your hand. And if you don't want to put up your hand now, at least come and talk to us in the coffee break.
I also want to add that we will be publishing a summary of the sessions that happened during this week, and that could also be something you could read and follow up on if you're interested, maybe in a few weeks or so.
Right. I'm making eye contact with a few people in the room. I'm going to come and find you. We're going to come and find you in the break. So, yeah, nobody is safe yet. Okay, right.
Thank you.
We will get there, don't worry. Right, challenge number 5 is structures. Susan, there is a Google Doc.
Okay, so this challenge is about society structures, recruitment, and participation in other projects. I'm not sure we really did the last bit, but so guiding this was the 5 questions. Do the structures of Europlanet Association, society, and research infrastructure work? How could we do things better? Are we missing structures to support activity? Sorry, I just remember where I put it. Are there structures that are redundant, and what can we do to make best use of our limited resources? So thanks everybody who came, who contributed and chatted about this during the week. I've summarized what I think are. Thank you. I've summarized what I think here the issues that were the main issues that were identified. I would have liked to have the time as well to put the positive points I got from this week as well, but I'll focus. Sorry, I know it's not very good to focus on the negative, but I'll focus on the issues here that were identified. Essentially, one of the issues is communication leads both into all of these things. So I'm just going to say, just put that at the bottom anyway. The overall structure of how these parts interact is basically had to explain it to everybody I've talked to. So I would say, seeing as everybody here is somewhat involved in Europlanet, that shows that it's probably not straightforward. And I would say the interaction between all the individual parts is somewhat limited to non-existent in some cases. And for example, the RI and the Europlanet Society, there is not very much interaction between those two things currently. And this may be something that becomes more important in the future. And inter-hub activities is something that is not happening at all. And it's certainly something that various people expressed a wish for example, for knowledge exchange to do with projects, and also to get people involved in so let's say scientific projects earlier on. You need to make those connections, and to make those connections, you need to have that those exchanges. The other thing, so the structure is a little bit not very well known, but then after that, even if you're within the structure, Europlanet Society structures, I'm specifically speaking from the hub committees, but also EPEC obviously talked about this earlier. I think it's not clear what the goals, projects, or responsibilities are of either the hub itself or the members of the committees on the hubs, and then what they should actually be doing. So in essence, that stops us being able to recruit people to be on those committees, and it also isn't motivating for the committees themselves. So the example of this is there are several hubs that are totally inactive because they don't know what they should be doing, essentially. And so I floated the idea throughout the week then, if it's not working and it's broken, should we just abolish the hubs? And there are mixed reactions to this, probably about 50-50, I would say. Some people say no, the hubs aren't working, they're ineffective, so we should replace them with thematic groups. Outreach and EPEC are examples of that. And we should then have scientific groups like planetary surfaces, planetary interiors that cross the regions. However, there were other people that said, no, the hubs serve a purpose, because then you have local contacts with local industry, for example, local outreach activities in the language in those places. And for EPEC example as well, early career scientists may be more comfortable presenting their work in their first language to start off with. So these are little examples where actually the regional or the hub aspect is actually valuable in terms of communicating. Recommendations. Very quick. So I've tried mixed recommendations and who's doing what as well, but I think it's very important to try to simplify the hubs. And I think this is something that should be done with the hubs and the hub chairs and the committee in exchange. And this should be urgent, essentially. This needs to be done urgently. And I don't think it's hard, it just needs to be done. Outreach and early career are two things that have worked at the Europlanet Society. They're things that people fund, they're things that people do, and they're successful. They should still be there, and I think there should be a core of these activities, but we need to de-scope the rest of what is in each of the hubs to try and keep them feasible and not make people think, oh, this is way too hard, it's too big. I think setting concrete goals for hubs with the hub chairs is essential. Having something to do, an objective, really, it motivates people. Having not having a thing to do means that people are like, well, I don't know what we should be doing. We're having a meeting, but we're going to talk about stuff, and let people talk about issues, but they don't have like a goal. So I think setting a goal, maybe an annual goal, would be a way of overcoming that. So I've just put hub workshops. Maybe we can finance that on a rolling basis. Each region gets I don't know, a more money 1 year to do that kind of thing, something like that. One other thing that came up was MOUs, so memorandum of understanding with existing organizations, and this was mentioned with industry there about EGU, but I think this is actually really important for various things, and especially at a national level for certain countries who already have existing planetary science structures. And that's a job for the hubs. And how to make better connections between the RI and the Europlanet Society. I think this is going to just happen. This is going to have to happen. So I'm not sure I can give this as a job for anybody, but you know, I think this is going to fall out of this meeting naturally. I'm not sure I can give a task to anybody for that. And I think for having discussions from this week that a minimum requirement for a hub should be that they're promoting membership in their area, and they're serving as communications engines for both industry and outreach and early careers. So an example for early careers, early career scientists moving to another place. This was the example that was given earlier by James. Who do I contact from that institution? So very simple things like that. And we really need to reactivate the dormant hubs. That is a priority, and I'm not sure who should be given that job. Probably the former the new hub coordinator.
Thank you, Susan. Again, we will come back to some of these points and have more discussion. We are going to go to Fulvio, who is at the airport but is online. Hi, Fulvio. Thank you. We can see you. Can we hear you? Hi.
Sorry for abandoning the ship, but I have to fly back to Botswana today. So I believe I'm supposed to speak about challenge number 3, which is capacity building. I'm very sorry I don't have a document, but the discussion we had was very preliminary. Initially, there was a little bit of doubts concerning the definition of capacity building within Europlanet society framework. So we had some discussion about it using the definition given by the European Commission. So capacity building in terms of resources to upskilling and reskilling of scientific community, and also investments in those areas where planetary science is not yet mainstream. So we had also some conversation with Barbara at the session we organized for Africa, and overall the feeling is that we should link up with colleagues in the society and find a way to tap into the existing resources at the European Commission level to bring funds to countries like those underrepresented in Europe, but also South America, Africa, and so on, to come together, create consortia, and find the resources needed for empowering colleagues and students in those areas where the community are not yet well developed. I think that a big role of the society, of the hubs, or the society in general, would be to facilitate this dialogue. I already got some feedback from colleagues that wrote me personally because they would like to know more about these capacity building opportunities. But so far we are talking exclusively about capacity building grants for the European Commission. And those are very structured, so they tell you how the consortium should be and how much the money it is. So I think that is a good starting point for two very good reasons, because if you have money, you can build on your community, and with the right partnership, so experienced one together with less experienced ones, you can really upskill and reskill the community. So the dialogues I had were with colleagues from Eastern Europe, which I think is a target of the European Commission when it comes to capacity building. And of course, I avail myself to do some side project with African countries. But I think that the discussion was limited by the fact that the number of people that intervened was very little. I think that, and this is an invite to everybody in the room, to think about their own community and see if they can qualify for upskilling and reskilling projects, and maybe through the hubs or through the society itself, start coming together and writing proposals, because the single community, the single hub alone cannot tap into these resources, because by definition they want creation of small networks. So well, basically the discussion was about these opportunities. Now, I'm not sure, Anita, if capacity building, the title of the challenge was only about this, or if there was some more that you wanted us to discuss. But unfortunately, what came out was just about these opportunities. And I must say that a lot of people that I met were happy to discuss about writing proposals and no spin-off of Europlanet, specifically focus on underrepresented communities. So, and I'm happy to continue this discussion on the side with the colleagues that wrote me, but maybe there should be a focus group that identifies opportunities and also potential partners within the family, Europlanet family, and try to capitalize on the huge amount of money that is available at the European Union level.
Thank you, Fulvia. I mean, I think what you've just been talking about is a really important thing. We need to build up this capacity or this model for developing funding proposals, and we need to build that skills into the community so that it's not just you, me, Nigel, whatever, helping with that. We need lots of people who have that skill, and to make that sustainable and well developed. So I mean, I think that this is something we need to talk about. Alejandro has his hand up. Alejandro, can you say very quickly, because we do need to move on with the rest of the challenges, but while we have Fulvio here, who we're going to lose because he's got to go and board his plane, if you want to comment on this, then please do so. So Alejandro.
Right. Yeah. I want for Fulvio, just to say that we are in the Spanish-Portuguese hub now in discussions with the Latin American community. So actually we have a meeting, what is it, in 2 weeks now, with them, and the idea was actually to do an Ibero-American community and start doing things together. The problem at the moment is we don't have any direct link with Europlanet or money. So, but just to say that we are initiating discussions with them to start exchanging scientists, knowledge, maybe building workshops around, and just also for information, I've been part also of the COSPAR capacity buildings workshops. I've been to Brazil myself, giving a workshop there on how to use European science data. And also there was an HB just this year. So in case you want to discuss about that. The thing with this COSPAR, this was mostly paid by COSPAR and ESA. So in this case, the source of the budget is an issue that to be discussed. Just for information, I am interested in this subject and we can discuss offline.
Superb. Thank you so much. That was a bit of a dodgy connection, but I think we got the gist of it. That's really great to know. And I think, Marcello, you said that you were willing to help. I think you are now volunteered to join this capacity building.
Hello. Yeah, sure. You can count on me for sure. I'm from Brazil and I could help.
Brilliant, superb. I mean, again, Carlos, I think you can be a consultation person, but not you have many other things that you are also involved in. But Marcello, if you can join with that. I think the other thing that's missing from this that we haven't really talked about, and it needs to be embedded somewhere, is the diversity capacity building, the inclusion in terms of EDI, in terms of accessibility and so on. So I think that's a discussion that we also need to bring in the diversity committee and follow up with Solmaz and Ariana and Vic and so on afterwards. Yes, Nigel, sorry.
Yes, Anita.
Go ahead, Fulvio.
Yeah, no, sorry, you're right, Anita. I forgot the part about inclusion and diversity. And the reason why I forgot it is because normally in this type of call, like 75% of the actions are to promote inclusivity, diversity, accessibility. So, you know, you're very right that is a discussion that has to be done. But when we specifically refer to these capacity building calls, they already ask you to do that. So most of the money is actually for promoting inclusivity and diversity. So I think I normally put them under the capacity building umbrella. So yeah.
I think.
Sorry, Nigel.
Oh, sorry. Can I just say something? Just within the context of Europlanet and the things that you've been talking about in the hubs, and the structure of the hubs. One of the, we've talked about early careers, we've talked about outreach. Diversity is supposed to be something, is supposed to be another of those activities. Now, if that's not working, it's not working. We can look at how we integrate that. I mean, actually, the diversity committee has worked reasonably well up until sort of fairly recently when it started to sort of lose momentum and lose membership, I think. But we can come back to Solmaz a bit in the minute. But I think this is something really important. It may be covered in grants, but I don't think it's covered terribly well within Europlanet and the Europlanet Society, making sure that we highlight that as something that we are committed to as a community and supporting. So it needs to be explicitly involved in the discussion, this discussion going forwards. Sorry, Nigel.
Yeah, well, just on that diversity aspect, I mean, that also came up with the other, that's one of the cross-cutting areas with the other space research infrastructures, because we had that discussion yesterday. I'm just really pleased to hear this developing communication with Latin America. We've concentrated a lot on Africa, but I believe the European Union is looking out to Latin America. And somewhere in my head, there's a similar call to the EU-Africa call, which Fulvio and so on and Barbara will be working on. It's a call for March next year. I believe there's a similar type of thing for Latin America, and I'll go and look it up and see if there's an opportunity there to provide some focus, because with all the telescopes and everything in Latin America and also our field sites, this would be a natural area to go. So it's really good that that group's coming together.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, is it
word?
Okay.
Yes. Don't forget that now we are an association, and officially we can be part of such project writing, project not coordinating, but participation.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't find the cursor. What do I do? There's two screens, is it? Sorry, the next challenge is 6, Gareth. No, sorry, we need to move on. So we'll just, any further questions, we will have time later, but let's try to, you've just got notes. No, okay. Slides are on the Google Drive. Okay, on the Google Drive, yeah, okay.
Okay, so just while we set that up, the 2 early careers who were working with me on this have made a great job and put a lot of things on the Google Docs. And so unfortunately, one's left and one is currently in hospital. No problems, there's just a routine check. So, but they apologize for not being here. Should be on there. So the first slide is basically putting where are we now? So we discuss what do the TAs do, what is their resources, etc. So it's really, what do we do? The things that are very good about the current TAs are the peer review aspect. We have physical travel, accommodation, and etc. We have also been examining hybrid and remote, etc. And clearly in the future, we're going to be thinking about thematic clusters and co-funding. So that's the background of what we're thinking about. But before we go much further, we have to clearly define what our ambition is. How big do we tend to expect to be? And in this context, there are two avenues we need to think about. One is the actual potential of the space RI, and if we're going to do things on the European level, and that's a totally different scale to if we're actually going to have something that we would say is the society's heritage in a much smaller and scale back RI transnational access program. So we must always remember there are two levels of which we are thinking. But whichever way we're thinking, this is how everybody's going to think. What is in it for us? And that comes from the TA hosts, the users, and people who we hope are going to be the co-funders. So we always need to bear in mind, we need to be able to sell to all 3 aspects. Now, as a TA host, I think the main reason we're doing this is for the high profile science. So we've had some discussions during the week saying, well, maybe if we scale things back and we don't be so adventurous and we try and, I won't say dumb it down a bit, but that was a sort of input. We have to be careful that if we don't have ambition high enough, we're going to lose a lot of people because the reason for doing this will be lost. So there's a slight contradiction there. But if we can convince the TA host that it's the benefits of having high quality users, new science, new collaborators, then potentially they and their host institutions may partly fund the actual TA visits. That's one thing we have to be able to see. Can we do that? But we need to ensure that everybody perceives these are high impact visits. We clearly need some sort of critical mass to be cost effective, because if we only have 2 or 3 visits a year and we then need to set up either peer review or some sort of administration, it becomes very expensive. So we can't become too small because then it becomes prohibitively expensive, and we can't be too big because we can't get the co-funding. So again, there's a balance there. How can we then also stress the training aspect? Because when people come and use a TA facility, there is a training aspect. Many early career users come to a lab and they learn new techniques, they get specialties that they can then actually put on their CV, and it's useful for their future. And most universities understand that benefit, but it's something we need to really market. And there are high impact aspects of the research, and we're using state-of-the-art instrumentation or whatever, or field work in extreme places that nobody else has been to. These are things we need to be able to market and sell and go to universities, etc., to say, these are reasons you should join up. and you should encourage your people to come and use that. So we need to optimize the perceived and actual benefits that we're doing from these TA visits, and somehow we need to almost end up with some sort of, I think Nigel used the term kite mark, which maybe not everybody knows what, but some sort of stamp of approval at various levels within Europe that people then realize what they're signing into. So that we then sort of finished up by saying, well, clearly we can't do this all on ourselves, and we need to have interaction, and we need to contact the national space agencies, ESA, government agencies, industry, and the universities, but we need to coordinate this in a way that seems professional, and we do it in a coherent way so that national space agencies talk to ESA and vice versa, and government bodies talk to universities and vice versa. So that is the really big challenge that we see, is how can we get all these agencies to understand and believe that we have something that they want, and therefore they want to be part of, and that then we can all benefit from. But it's not a simple task, to say the least. Okay, and we also said industry should have been on the last page, but I obviously put too many spaces in there as well. But working with industry as well to understand the benefits is also very important. And as we've heard before, making sure the academics are talking to industry, not just the other way around, is an important part. Okay, those are the main points that we brainstormed over the last few days, and hopefully that's useful for people to think about.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Gareth. Oh. Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Gareth. Lots and lots of things to discuss going forwards. Right, Carlos, VAs. Sorry.
In the future, not going forward.
Whatever. Whatever. Sorry. Yeah. So for volunteers, sorry, actually, for volunteers, who do we have working with Gareth on the volunteers? We've got a number of people. Put out your hand. You, Marison. Who else? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Susan, yes. TA users, and another thing that we talked about yesterday, John, was organising a virtual TA user shop in the autumn. Workshop, possibly shop as well, to get some feedback about what it is that they want and what they would like to see. I mean, there's a sort of slightly different depending on whether it's the RI is funded or not. I mean, but regardless, in terms of feeding into Gareth's points, then we need to know what users would like.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the other day I guess I summarized pretty much the discussion that we had in the first day. Here's just a summary. Basically, we are talking about those services, the VA services, and key points here is, well, keep it running. Today, they run on our premises, either in Paris, Bremen, and so on and so forth, or they somehow dilute into somebody's premises, and we understand that the use of EOSC, the European Open Science Cloud, is key here. So for different reasons, not only practical, material, but also political. So we want to use that. We just have to understand, which is, I think, it's sometimes the problem with all these research infrastructures. We actually need to understand what are the products of EOSC, what actually is in there. There is a lot of stuff, but somehow abstract. But anyhow, this is key. So the maintenance, then we need update, not only software but data, and how do we keep it running? Are we paying for development? Are we getting to the point that our software and services become open source with a good community of users and developers? So this thing goes on. There is a breaking point here. So this is one of the points that we should work on. So we need to enlarge the community, not only on users, but on contributors, either data and services, and developers, and make those things, those that need a cloud instance, for example, that are there to provide a 24/7 services, to get the necessary sponsor. As I said, EOSC is there. We should understand how to use that, how to negotiate that sponsorship, let's say, from EOSC. And the key here is outreach. And again, services, they touch many, at least, of those challenges. Outreach is one, so we need to go out there. Workshops may be a good way to market the services and engage people that are actually potential contributions or potential stable users. So this is one thing. Documentation in the sense that you not only the black and white boring documentation, but things that engage and solve problems to people, right? I already got some feedback, for example, from for the GMAP that I presented yesterday. I'm a researcher slash scientist slash developer. We don't do well with documentation and user interface. So people from outreach should help us. And this is now I get into a point that I think Europlanet Society should provide for members, either from outside and inside, is we want the society to provide us the necessary resource to actually work as a unity and make our lives easier. So we identified that outreach is important. What is I identify you as our outreach, sorry, yeah. Yeah, you are the outreach person. So for our members, what makes that's why we pay for things, right? To make our lives easier. So packages, how do I do a workshop? I decided to do a workshop. How do I do? Who should I contact there? Or do we need training for that? And that is one thing that I think the society should provide. The website should not be a website, should be a portal where you get in there and you get solutions for your stuff, or at least you know who to contact and ask for help. This is the thing that members are willing, are wanting to pay for, and so that's the thing. So industry, we should talk. Outreach, we definitely should talk. Yeah.
I think this leads very nicely on to the next challenge, which is, thank you so much, Carlos. But I think this leads very nicely on to the next challenge, which would be challenge 8, the community support, training, outreach, all of these things. How do we develop those for the community? So, Edita. Oh, sorry. Telescopes.
So, hello to everyone. Thanks for everyone for organizing this meeting. Our group about telescope and professional and amateur support meets a few times during this week, and we have actually find out not a solution, but the problem, and maybe as part of the solution for a given problem. So for the Europlanet telescope network, actually what we find as a problematic part is the promotion of this telescope network. So we think we should do some work about the promotion and make more users of this Europlanet telescope network. And the other problem that was raised was the application process. What here in the application process actually was a problematic, let's say, was that the person who wants to use the telescope need to contact two different sites. One is the Europlanet telescope network and the other is the observatory itself. So sometimes it can be hard combining those two requests at the same time. So that's what they found as a problem, and as a solution, somehow to merge this request into one. For this solution, actually, what came as a solution was to find to have a person in the observatory, but as well as the in Europlanet telescope network that will be a contact person for the observatories, and they will work closely, those two the person from the Europlanet telescope network and with all the other people from the observatories will work close and manage to merge those two processes. The last priority that actually was mentioned was easy process for money return. This means that someone mentioned that actually some of the people have decided not to ask for this opportunity of Europlanet telescope network because they are not sure if the money will, the process of getting the money back is too complicated for them. Recommendation, I mentioned some of them. I do not see the screen here, so I mentioned some of them. The one first recommendation is to organize a forum for all participants, the professional and amateurs who have used the Europlanet telescope network, and they can share actually their ideas and their experience. They can share their experience and they will help the others and encourage the others to do the same thing. So this can be led even with lead from the amateurs and also from the professional astronomers. I already mentioned about merging the two processes of the application, and find a helping person for the application. This is actually something that the hubs can work on, to have a contact person in the hub that will help with the application, because there are lots of people who would like to use the Europlanet telescope network, but it will be hard for them for the application process with the language barrier. So in the hubs, there can be a person or a person from the hub can help with application process for the person who are afraid to apply just because of the language barrier. And yeah, the last thing that was mentioned, it was from an experience. It was like contacting an observatory that is included in those around 30 observatories in the network, and asking if they can have the time. They did not get any answer, but at the end they sent the data from the observations. So we think that there should be a person who will be organizing this communication between the observatories, and it also can be a person from Europlanet, but responsible for all the observatories and contact. There is a contact person in the observatories, but somehow it wasn't reached or does not return the emails, and this is what can be improved for the observatories. So I think I mentioned everything that came. yeah, the forum. One more thing is the list of participants. That would be very beneficial for all the people who are using the Europlanet telescope network. If there is a list of participants and what they are working in the field of work, it would be nice, because this will make a community and it will be easier for us to share the data, to share the knowledge. As a community of Europlanet, we have this list of people who have used the Europlanet telescope network, and we know that they have some collected already data that is coming from another telescope or another person. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Elena. Thibaut pointed out that I've not been doing very well in just making sure that we've got the volunteers. So taking this forward, the task group for this, actually people here, are you willing to carry on with this?
Yeah, I can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
would
you.
be willing, yeah.
Good, good, good. I mean, I'm assuming, well, obviously the Telescope Networks, Grażyna, the NA2 team will do that. Are there others who would be willing to carry on contributing to this task force? It's quite useful, I think, to have the users as well as the NA2 people. So anyway, if there, well, maybe this is the first task, as you say. You need that list of users, and then we can see whether we can pull that in. So, but yeah, okay. So thank you very much.
Thank
for
you.
that. Thank you.
Anita, we have a question online. Do you want it?
Yes, please.
As I understood, ETN applications will finish end of this year and in the future? Question mark.
Well, this is the question. This is the question. So there may be, possibly through Space RI, there may be the opportunity to do telescope network applications through that. However, like with the TAs, we need to look at sustaining this as a service. Nigel, we are running out of time.
Yeah, very quickly. I did hear that perhaps the financial aspect of this is not actually the critical thing so much for the telescopes. It's actually having a forum where the universities and the telescopes can actually do the program, because actually the amount of money that's transferred is small, and most of the visits are virtual. So it makes slightly different from the TAs. It's not so critical, I think, on the finance. I might be wrong, but
although don't forget that all of this needs people to do it properly, because what we've been saying, that already with a funded project, it's still been a bit ropey. So we need to sort that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right, Edita. So hopefully we can go back to some of the questions that Carlos very rightly raised for sustainability, for community services and the training and the outreach and the website.
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay.
Thank you, Anita. So during all week, we heard things like training workshops, and we want to make all those services sustainable in our community. So I invite everyone, just scan this QR code and to put your input, to put the things that you don't like in those services or you don't know. And I also listed things that are here as in red. It's all my personal opinion. It doesn't need to be coincide with yours, so put yours as well here. But I find difficult in our society is still communication, even though we have newsletters. And I find that when we have a newsletter with only small message, it's more reachable. So for example, in the mentorship scheme, when we ask for volunteers, and if there is a newsletter with only this message, I see the application. Okay, and if we have a newsletter with many information, different information, different hub information, then the message is lost usually. So there are ways how to improve, and it would be nice to have surveys to know what the society or association needs, and periodically look for volunteers, because there are people changing positions, going in, going out. So it would be nice to have not only the dedicated people working for for those services, but all the times inviting everyone to join, especially the young ones, because they use the services the most. And we need dedicated groups for each service, and we need to monitor how those services work and evaluate to know where we can improve. So I invite everyone to join those services because they exist in our Europlanet society, and people sometimes do not know that there is a mentoring opportunity for everyone. It's not only for dedicated people, okay? So everyone can apply. And we have trainings. Many years we organize summer schools. We have dedicated portal where people can look for the information, find contacts, and in this portal you can learn about the positions. You can even send your information that we have this summer school, we have this workshop. So this portal is updated with this information. And also we would like to have summer schools, workshops, tutorials that we could go together with young generation to labs that need to be sustainable. We could organize joint seminars with other relevant networks. It's not necessarily only Europlanet community organize those joint seminars, also online courses. And we have this mentorship scheme running from 2020, and we have challenges there because we need everyone. Not only we need young generations, but we need scientists who can guide and support the young ones. So I encourage you to go and just to look how it looks like, and maybe you will apply there as well, because we all need trainings. Not only mentees but also mentors need trainings, because I heard this word that I don't know how to mentor, and I need mentor myself. And I then said you should try to get a mentee, and you will figure out that you know how to mentor, because you already went to those difficult steps that younger people are facing. And we need to think how to get fundings, how to make all this sustainable. And people in our group, we were few of us, suggested those schemes, try to go, especially from Erasmus Plus, as we heard during this week, try to get money from local organization and regional, try to go to industry. For example, we might know someone. For example, I had a master's student who just recently finished his studies with me, and he's in a new startup. It's industry, they are building satellites. Maybe using those personal ties, we can somehow get industry involved in our fundings. And also, I don't know if it's possible to have a donation button in our web pages, where people who are just looking at the society page can just donate because they want to donate, right? So I don't know if that is possible. And Harry was responsible for expert exchange program. The program is still running. I've been asked during this week, can people still apply? They can apply. So I encourage to go to this Google document or to expert exchange and look at the call. And outreach is doing great. So thank you.
Right, thank you very, very much, Edita. I mean, I think there are lots of things, and we've talked a little bit about crowdfunding earlier in the week in terms of the TAs. I mean, this is, again, sort of something, whether donations, societal, community outreach, funding programs, they're definitely things that we can look at. So finally, I'm sorry, we seem to have run out of time for discussion, which is a bit of a shame. But not to be entirely expected. Alejandro, were you going to say something? No. Okay, Solmaz, you're on. So finally, last but certainly not least, EPSC and science-led activities.
Yeah. Thank you. Could you please make Wolf a presenter? He can share some slides. And I read this Google Doc from my phone. So yeah, the 10th challenge was about EPSC and science-led activities of Europlanet. So as I also mentioned on Tuesday, we haven't really focused on EPSC itself because EPSC is well established and it's on a very good way by its own. So we actually focused on other topics. One main topic was this network of networks, what we've heard a few times about it. There were yesterday presentations of different networks, and I think there is really a good potential in the room to have an umbrella network that covers all these smaller networks together. It would allow a better networking opportunity, of course, to just continue to use the word network very soon, is to form a larger team, to have a stronger voice, very particularly when we come to points of talking with politicians. It's much better to have one stronger voice than various smaller voice. It helps collaboration with other space-related communities. And as I said, it's good when we talk with ministers and politicians. It helps. Of course, there should be a structure, who is going to be a member, the different governmental institutions, individual, smaller institutes can also be a member. So there should be more topics to get really into bottom of it and to have a structure. And then, can we see the next slide? To ask why we need such a network, as I also mentioned, to have a stronger voice, to be able to coordinate better activities, especially with other communities, with other space-related communities, and also take benefit from them, to learn from them. What do they do in terms of diversity, what they do for early careers? They all have these activities, so we can just learn from each other. And then another topic is to have, the idea is to have a European space capital. That is something that I personally really like it. It's to have a yearly one capital or one city in Europe as the space capital. That would allow having very larger planned activities in one city. So not only having a EPSC or this kind of meetings, but like 3 months of summer camps, really getting schools involved. They can, prepare the whole year a project to present it during this time, to have exhibitions, to get museums involved, to get all the local universities involved. If there is even space-related teams working, that everybody can get involved. It's very good also for, to make us visible, to show what is planetary science, to, that politicians sees us, they hear us when activities happening within the city. It engaged politicians again. It engaged their mayors, the local communities very well. Normally it doesn't cost anything for the city, so that makes it also very attractive. It brings tourists, it brings scientists to the city. It allows the smaller scientific communities to also be active. So have I forgotten anything? It can also then lead to have more permanent remaining structures. There might be a museum who's interested to have a permanent exhibition about planetary research or any space-related activities. So in order to talk more about it and to have a better structure, we are going to put in a proposal to meet with some stakeholders, maybe some politicians, to find a city that can be the first candidate for it, and then to talk more in detail and for sure come back here and to report on that. Thank you.
Okay, so everyone, we are running out of time. Just on that challenge, the working group that will take this forward, science-led activities. Solmaz, are you willing to carry on with this? Okay. Okay, do we have any other volunteers? I mean, obviously there's a link with the outreach with some of the things that you've suggested. obviously with Nigel, I mean with the network of networks, that's going to be a really important thing. And there's lots of people already involved in that.
Just to say that on that network of networks, with the dinner and everything last night, as far as that is now very much felt to be, yes, we will do it. So we will do that. We have plans. That network of what we did yesterday, everybody was on board with that. So that's going to go ahead.
Okay. I'm afraid we really, because I think Callum will want to set up for the council meeting, which starts in 20 minutes. So we don't have much time for discussion, but I think let's take 3 questions if we have one. Livia.
I think we missed to make a team for the regional lab
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of assuming that the regional hubs are part of that team for the regional hubs, but if there are other people that would like to volunteer for Thibaut volunteered for the regional hubs, and you are Switzerland member of regional hub. Do we have any other regional hub? Federica, Nadia, excellent, good. Okay, and Susan, are you willing to? Are you willing to take this forward, at least for the time being? I mean, also bearing in mind that Severine, who has that at the moment, that role as hub coordinator, will be back from maternity leave in a few months. So it's kind of bad timing from her perspective, but hopefully that will carry on. But I mean, I think there's a lot to discuss and a lot to take forward, and thank you for that. Luca.
Yeah, I just have a question about this network of networks, which is brilliant with great ideas. I'm just wondering on the practical side, where is the budget and the funding coming from? Because this is a lot of resources required to organize these kind of things.
The original idea from yesterday is that those networks which we talked yesterday. So I know what Somas just said about the other ideas, which was involving institutions and so on. I don't think we've got to that stage yet, but the first step of trying to get all the science, those bodies that speak for or do work within the space community, we will work together. It doesn't require a lot of money, to be honest, and it maybe we'll find a few ways of getting people together. But the main thing at the moment was felt that we will establish a website, we'll establish a forum, and we will establish a way of talking. And then there is plans to have a meeting because one of the projects, the ORT project, is expected to report to the Commission on some of these ideas of how to work together. They have budget for that, and we will probably meet at Brussels because it's a convenient place for everybody to meet.
And finally, was there something online that one to say? Okay, great. I don't know whether EPEC, I feel one of the slight sadnesses of the week is I'm not quite sure that there's still been quite enough sort of opportunities to really get to know the early career community, and there's still a lot of people whose names I don't know sort of over there. But James, do you just want to say something briefly from EPEC?
I can do. One solution is to come to the mental health workshop at 11 o'clock, where a lot of EPEC people will be. But yeah, no, the young people are really friendly and happy to speak to everyone. But yeah, we'll be downstairs in 20 minutes or so. And on the Hoover app, of course, you can contact everyone. But we had that hubs overlap session. Of course, there's lots of other places we can overlap with people. So my best suggestion, because we're at the end of the week, is talk to the hubs about how we're overlapping with them and see if you think that kind of synergy could benefit you guys as well. And we'd be happy to try and work with you too. But yeah, 11 o'clock downstairs.
Well, except for the fact that council people, you have to be here to vote on
Apart
things.
from those
So
guys,
I'm afraid some people are here to be in this room. However, there is always lunch. So there is always the opportunity at lunch to network and talk, and it's still not too late to make new friends and meet new people. Okay, well, thank you everybody. This is kind of the last of the overall everybody together ERIM sessions. We're now sort of dividing off into the last bits of EPEC annual week and the council meeting. So thank you everybody for coming. It's been a really amazing experience. It's been very enlightening, and hopefully it will be an opportunity, a springboard to a new and great future for Europlanet.
Thank you, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Anita. This ERIM initiative was her initiative. It was your initiative, and I think I'm sure the survey forms will reflect this, but it has been a very positive experience. People have enjoyed it. It's a different format, it's a different way, and so you had a lot of work to do in trying to work out how it was going to work and everything else. But this week would not have happened without Anita, and I think it's going to be a kind of landmark for us moving forward, which again just shows the many, many years of service that Anita has given to Europlanet. Europlanet would not be where it was today without Anita, so she deserves another even stronger round of applause.
And you too. And also Nigel too. Both of us are looking to hand over to the next generation. But thank you, Nigel, for all of your work and commitment. Right.
Council meets here at 11 promptly.